never in my whole life have I ever thought of me ever talking about the time I almost exploded from the inside, but that's what I'm doing this week. Hi guys, it's me, Kate. This week we are doing the time I blank week, and I have decided to talk about the time I almost died, and I was kind of close to dying, like I could have died, and it was a serious matter and everything, so I decided to go ahead and tell you guys about that time. And some of you guys might know the story or just know what happened to me, but yeah, let's just get into the video. So this event happened on November 3rd of 2014, so it was this past November, and that day, it was a Monday, and I was in 4th period, and that whole day I had no pain, nothing was going on. But in 4th period, which is my last period of the day, I was sitting in math and I had to lay back a little bit in my seat, and I was like slouching and my stomach was hurting, and I thought it was just cramps. And then I was like, no, it's not cramps, because usually I have cramps in my lower back. But I didn't have cramps there. It was just like my stomach was tight and it was just really weird. So I went home that day from school. I danced that night. The achiness started turning into a pain, and it started growing, and I was upstairs. My grandma was cooking like chicken that night, and I could not stand the smell of the food. I was becoming nauseous, and I didn't realize it until my dad brought me home Jamba Juice to have for dinner before dance, and I took one sip and I could not finish my Jamba Juice or my waffle that I got from Jamba Juice, and I was just like, this is so weird. Why am I getting nauseous? And I went and sat in the family room, and I could not find a comfortable position to sit in. I was just in pain. I was sitting on the couch and I was just like, Dad, I'm not going to dance tonight. I think it's better for me just to stay home and rest this thing out. And about 20 minutes later, I headed upstairs as best as I could. I got in my bed and I could not find a comfortable position to lay in or sit in. I was moving every 5 seconds, not even 5 seconds. I just kept on moving because I could not sit still and be comfortable. The pain was growing, and I was just like, this is so freaking weird. What's going on? And I remembered Ashton Irwin had just got his appendix out, and I was like, what if it's my appendix? I googled up what the symptoms of an appendicitis is. I was nauseous, I was in pain. I had a bunch of other symptoms, and the pain was going down to my lower right side of my abdominal area, and I was just like, I think I'm exploding. I walked into my parents' room, and my mom was at work, and I started to come down in tears. And I was just like, Dad, can we go to the doctors, or can I call the nurse hotline that we have with our insurance and just talk to them, because I'm in really bad pain and I think I have an appendicitis. And my dad immediately made me call my mom, and then we called the nurse hotline, and I talked to the nurse, said my symptoms, asked me if I wanted to know what they thought I should do, or if I wanted to give the phone to my father. I went downstairs and told my grandma what was going on, and she was like, Caitlin, you're fine. And I was like, I don't think I'm fine. But so my dad was like, okay, Caitlin, we have to take you to your pediatrician. And I was like, okay. So we go to the pediatrician because they had sick hours. I was sitting there for 2 hours in the waiting room with 2 babies that weren't even sick, and I was there moving around every 5 seconds in pain. Finally, after 2 hours of sitting there, they let us into the back. Doctor comes in 20 minutes later, and it's like, okay, so you think you might have an appendicitis? And I was like, yeah, I'm nauseous and I have pain in my lower abdominal area. And she looked at me all serious. She put down her paperwork and she was like, stand up. And I stood up as best as I could, and she was like, can you jump? And I was like, yeah. And I went to jump, and I could not jump because I was in so much pain. And she asked me to lift my leg. I could not do that as high as I usually can. I laid down for her, and she took my leg and just moved it around, and I was just like, it hurts. And she was like, it hurts here. And then she listened to it with the thing that you listen to your heartbeat with. She listened to that area just to see if she could hear anything. And then my mom walked into the room at that time because she just got back from work. And she looked at my parents and I and was like, okay, I think you need to go down to Children's, which is the big children's hospital in San Diego. And I started bawling because I hate hospitals so much. And we immediately called my grandma, and the doctor assured me that I would be okay. I was in safe hands. And we rushed down to the hospital. We get there, and I was sat in the waiting room for the ER for about like 3 hours, and I was freezing cold. And at this time, when we got there, it was around 8 o'clock. We did not get back into our room till at least 11. And then a nurse didn't come in till 11:45, and we were in the smallest room on the planet. Like, we could not fit, like literally it was the size of the bed and no extra space. And so we were there, and then we waited, and we were waiting to see a doctor, but then I forget what it's called, but someone that's not a doctor but is almost a doctor walked in, and I was just like, are you, like, I understand you're like professional and everything, but I need to see a doctor because I'm dying in pain. I can't rest. I cannot do this. And the doctors at the hospital were absolutely amazing, and so were the nurses, so shout out to them. And so I was up till 2 a.m. The doctor person ordered me to be filled up with liquids, and I had to pee, and she would not let me pee before they put the liquids in me. So they filled me up with liquids, and they also drew some blood, I think, or they did something, and they went and ran some tests, and my white blood cells came back, I think high or low or whatever, the opposite of good. And I was just like, oh crap. And she said, I think it's probably an appendicitis, and I'm gonna call the surgeon and see what he wants me to do, whether he wants to come in or whether he wants me to have you take a CT scan. And they checked for the other lab, and that came back bad too. And they finally let me pee, and at this time it was probably 2:30 in the morning. And then I laid in bed. 3 o'clock, I was taken up to take my CT scan, and then I was taken back to my room and awoken around 4, being told that it was definitely an appendicitis. I started crying again, and all that night I was watching Sweet Life by Zack and Cody on Netflix. To tell you guys the truth, like, that's what I did to get rid of the pain. And they said my surgery was set for like 7 a.m, so they moved me up to this huge room, and it was such a nice room, and I had a really sweet nurse that night, and I was moved up there, and I was in bed. I think they gave me morphine. Yeah, they gave me morphine at first to help with my pain, and I got to pee. I couldn't eat or drink anything, so that really sucked because I was starving and I was really thirsty. And then nausea, is that what it's called, started to go away. And then I woke up at 7 o'clock to my nurse like checking my vitals and everything, and my surgery time got moved back to 10:30. And then around like 10, my grandma came and visited and brought me balloons, and I was just like watching TV, trying to distract myself, and the pain was gone kind of. I had so many drugs in me, so I didn't feel anything. And then I didn't leave my room till like 11:30, so the surgery got pushed back even more, and we were in like the room that I'm in before I go back, and we were all talking, and the nurse that came in was like, yeah, 3 girls just got their appendix out this morning. And I was like, what? I had my first surgery back in 2012, and they did not tell me I was going back to the operating room, and I freaked out, and I was like, this bed is too small, I need a bigger bed, I cannot do this. I was freaking out and panicking, and this time I was at ease. Like, I walked in, and it was literally like an Avengers themed room, and they were playing chill music, and the doctor was like, hi Caitlin, and I was like, hi doctor, and I laid down, and instead of putting a mask on me, they just did the anesthesia through my IV, so I didn't even feel it. Like, I felt stuff going through me, because like, you feel that stuff when they put like medicine and stuff in you. I was talking about me dancing in about 5 sauce in one direction, and then I was out, and I woke up to a nurse checking my vitals, and I was like, what the heck's going on? And she was like, hi Caitlin, how are you feeling, sweetie? And I was like, I don't feel good. And I said I felt pain in my lower left area, and I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, they found a mole and they removed it just for safety reasons. So that caused me the most pain at first, and I was like, oh, whatever. And my dad came back and visited, and then they rolled me up to my room, and I get there and they're like, should we lift Caitlin? And they're like, no Caitlin, you can probably just move over, you're fine. I start moving over, and I hear someone scream, and it's my nurse, and she's like, she's bleeding. And I was like, I'm bleeding, and they were like, Caitlin, calm down, you don't have to freak out, you're okay. They like automatically started to calm me down, and I was freaking out. And they, for like about 30 minutes, they held pressure down on my stomach, and they were like, okay, you should be fine. Hour comes, I'm laying in bed, nurse comes to check on me, I'm still bleeding. So all of the nurses and residents all come in, and they're all talking to me, and one of them looked like my math teacher, and it was really weird because her name's Adrian, my teacher's name is Kristen, her first name, I'm not saying her last name, but I was like, that's not Kristen, that looks like Kristen, because I was all drugged up, and the doctor came in and was like, okay, they went through my belly button for my surgery, and I guess it didn't close up all the way, and so the doctor was like, I can poke you either 2 times or 1 time. The 1 time poke is just me going in there sewing 1 stitch. The 2-time poke is numbing it and then stitching, and I was just confused, and I was like, number 1, because I was like, number 1's the best. And then my mom was like, Caitlin, they're not gonna numb you, you're gonna just feel a stitch, like them pulling you. And I was like, no, I want number 2, give me number 2. And they did number 2, and I was just like dead. And basically, I was dead. And then they had to put this tape on me, and it was terrible. I had tape all over my stomach for like 4 days after my surgery, and then my mom was allowed to take it off, and I was freaking out when she took it off, and I couldn't shower for like 4 days, and that was terrible too. That's my story about the time I almost exploded from the inside and I almost died. I hope you guys enjoyed this storytelling video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week.